Do we want America the way it's been? Are we willing to say absolutely not? You cannot make up your gender when you wake up in the morning and I have to all of a sudden change the pronouns? We're not going to have Sharia Islam where girls are getting their genitals cut off up in Minnesota. We're going to say no to Sharia law, period, ever in America. All illegal aliens that are pouring in are going to pour right back out as soon as we get control of the House again. We can get rid of the asylum laws or modify them to say the only way you can apply for asylum is through an embassy, a U.S. embassy in Mexico or other countries. You cannot come to the border and ask for asylum when you went through Mexico or other countries, which international law says you must apply for asylum at the first country you enter in upon fleeing your country of origin. They're not doing it. They wait to get to America where they just walk in because our border's full. There's articles we'll get to about there's a massive 20,000 immigrant caravan that's forming in Guatemala, so they're going to go right into Mexico, not apply for asylum. So what the left does is they go, you know what? If you're an American right now, if you happen to be white, you're the problem. So don't you dare speak out against the growth of Sharia Islam. Don't you dare. Don't you dare want a border wall because you're a racist. Don't you dare talk about the people that don't know their gender, or they want to tell their kindergartner, we're going to have a cross-dressing man come in and do sexual dancing in front of you in the library, and that's going to be okay. So if we say that's child abuse, well, no, you're just narrow-minded, backwards, and you're transphobic. So we have to decide, are we going to fight to preserve America, to build the wall and deport them all, cut out the fix immigration, stop bringing in foreign workers, and have America, force people to assimilate, or are we just going to sit here and let the perfect storm overtake us? Because it's going to. Islam by 2040, according to this article, will probably be the second largest religion in the United States. And if we do not outlaw Sharia law and prosecute people that are doing it, because it's not a religion, it's a political system cloaked with a 7th century religious construct of a false deity. If we don't do something, then we're going to hear about more terrorism in America. And then who are we going to be able to blame? Because 2040, if I'm still around, right, I'm going to be in my 60s, 70s. Actually, I'll be in my 70s, going toward 80s. What's your influence when you're in your 70s or 80s? Very little. Now is the time to decide. There's a guy running in the Democratic Party that actually he's a governor of some city. I'm sorry, a mayor. Like a mayor of some city somewhere. His name is Pete Buttigieg. Well, he's actually getting some recognition. So on the Hill here, it says he's telling everybody he's becoming popular. Americans are being radicalized by Trump. Speaking with Vox about President Trump's support in the American interior, he's a South Bend, Indiana mayor. He says people are always more vulnerable to being radicalized when they're economically or socially dislocated. Are you socially dislocated if you like President Trump? He says, I think a lot of Americans are being radicalized by this administration. The experience of disruption has gone on, especially in the interior, and has obviously made it more fertile to being taken advantage of by people like this president. Well, that's just the problem. White people are the problem. White men are the problem. White Christian men are the problem. President Trump's terrible, right? Because he wants to fight to keep America the way that it's been. Then he's just radicalizing people. Radicalized. Just like the guy in New Zealand, right? Radical. Trump supporter, MAGA hat, radical. It's Trump's fault. Did you hear Did you hear what Rahm Emanuel said in Chicago now? He came out. He said Jussie Smollett, just travesty that he was that the state attorney waived his charges. So he came out. Emanuel came out just as terrible, right? Now it's like, well, Jussie Smollett only felt like he could do this fake hoax because of Trump. It's Trump's fault now that Smollett did it. He obviously got a call from the Obamas. Ram, you sound like you're agreeing with President Trump on Smollett, so you're going to have to change. You got to get back to blaming him. We fight now to preserve America, to require assimilation, to get ready for technology that's coming. We fight for that now. We don't allow illegals in. We get rid of them because there won't be jobs for them, which is going to put them on the government dole. And the college kids that like Bernie Sanders, who have been taught Marxism and democratic socialism, are going to want the government to take care of them and pay off their bills. You see the problem that's coming? We don't have time. We don't really have time to be entertained. I'm probably not that entertaining. I try to be honest with you, though. Hopefully it's somewhat entertaining, but it's not my goal. My goal is to cause change, to give you information that compels you to do something. Because we cannot just sit back and, well, that guy said Americans are being radicalized. Well, that's his opinion. That's not his opinion. That's propaganda. You say, you know what? You're full of it. Go back to Indiana. And guess what? I'm a white man. There's nothing wrong with that. Being Irish is great. Being a Indian American is great if you're a citizen. Mexican American citizen, great. There's nothing wrong with being European American. Nothing wrong. Nobody owes anybody anything. There's no reparations that are coming. The government spent $22 trillion trying to fight poverty. It's not working for those people that have taken the $22 trillion and they just continue to live the way they've lived. They actually live nicer now. The poor people in America live nicer than poor people, than the middle class, and some rich people in the world live less. Their quality of life materially, our poor here are richer than their middle class in most countries. Article here from CNS News, cnsnews.com. Federal spending hits highest level since bank bailout and Obama stimulus. The federal government spent $1.8 trillion in the first 5 months of this year. Who is running the Congress that appropriates the spending? That's right, the Democratic Socialist Party. We're $22 trillion in debt. But why not? Why not just ride this out, right? Well, we have a big economy. Well, if it gets to be 30 trillion or 40 trillion, at what point do we have to give up sovereignty because we owe so much money to the world that we can never pay it back? Part of the perfect storm. Now, President Trump he came out and he said he's going to threaten to close the border next week if Mexico doesn't immediately stop all illegal immigration. And that's the interesting thing about this. President Trump and his supporters are the only thing keeping democratic socialism from taking over America. Yes, we have the Constitution, but if Hillary Clinton would have been president and put in a liberal for Gorsuch and a liberal instead of Kavanaugh, then these 5-4 gun decisions would have gone 4-5, and then the erosion of the Second Amendment would be underway. Free speech, the Christian baker would have been told, Colorado thinks that you should be forced to bake cakes for people you disagree with. And we kind of think so too, because, you're a business, a private business, so you're going to have to bake cakes for homosexuals, or we'll fine you, and we'll shut you down, and we'll force you into re-education camps like Hitler did. So yeah, President Trump, that sees this border getting just saturated, he's declared an emergency, vetoed the Congress trying to overturn that. So here he is fighting for us, trying to stop the perfect storm. It says President Donald Trump revealed in a late Friday morning tweet storm that unless Mexico immediately and completely ends all illegal immigration into the United States, he plans to close down the border or larger sections of the border next week. While on Fox and Friends morning show, they warned of a mother of all caravans is gathering in coming days. Illegal immigration appears to have risen back to the top of the list of issues the White House is eager to talk about. So President Trump tweeted. He says it's not clear the exact meaning of a president's fiat means, as Mexico cannot literally be held accountable to all illegal immigration coming to the U.S., southern border or not, though Trump is certainly talking about undocumented immigrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. So President Trump, here's his tweets, and then we're going to move on. He said the Democrats have given us weak immigration laws, the weakest immigration laws anywhere in the world. Mexico has the strongest, and they make more than $1 billion a year on the U.S. Therefore, Congress should change our weak immigration laws now, and Mexico must stop illegals from entering the U.S. Next tweet. Through their country and our southern border, Mexico has for many years made a fortune off the U.S., far greater than border cost. If Mexico does not immediately stop all illegal immigration coming into the United States through our southern border, I will be closing, continuing next tweet, the border or large sections of the border next week. This would be so easy for Mexico to do, but they just take our money and talk. Besides, we lose so much money with them, especially when you add in drug trafficking, etc., that the border closing would be a good thing. So, why is it so important? Here we go. This is from Gateway Pundit. Border Patrol forced to release illegal aliens directly into communities. Not enough bed space to hold them. Okay, pouring in the country. It says the U.S. Border Patrol is being forced to restart catch and release at the border because there's not enough bed space to hold illegal aliens. And under the law, there's the problem. Under the law, the illegal aliens cannot be immediately sent back across the border. What kind of country has laws that does not allow them to have somebody they catch at the border, they determine they don't want them in their country, but then they can't send them back right away? Well, America, yes. It says a record surge of U.S.-Mexican at the U.S.-Mexico border is forcing Border Patrol agents to directly release illegal aliens into communities for the first time since the Bush administration. Didn't happen under Obama. Over 100,000 illegal aliens will be detained at the U.S. border in March alone. 100,000 detained in March. That's not people that made it across. That's who were actually caught and detained. 100,000. Kevin McAlien, Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, says things have gotten so bad that more than 100,000 illegal immigrants will be nabbed at the border in March alone. Those are levels that have not been seen for more than a decade. The current situation is worse because the migrants are exploiting loopholes in